Cycling for me has never been about the bikes. They've only ever been the prerequisite tool. I do not see just a bike race, I see riders on heroic journeys and warriors doing battle. At one point, cycling was the most popular sport in Europe because newspapers told magnificent tales about epic races and crafted the great champions into legends. But with the advent of television, cycling lost some of its mystique, and that golden age of journalism and narration has perished. So now let us try to return some romance to the beautiful sport. Let us praise and give glory to phenomenal performances to be remembered for decades to come. Let us dwell on the moments that inspire and move us. Let us chronicle the rise and fall of heroes. Let us chart these life-changing journeys, these cycling odysseys. All right, welcome back to another episode of Cycling Odysseys. I'm your host, Patrick Santino. We're doing another Tour Rewind stage today. We're looking back at Stage 16 of the 2020 Tour de France. This is the first day back after the rest day, the first of three big mountain stages. This one wasn't as brutal as the next two would be, but this was a fun one. Actually, was this stage super fun? This one was super fun to write for me, actually. That's the real deal. See, this is I think this is another one that could serve as a kind of good sample of the show. You know, like if you want to get a feel for what the show is about, just listen to this whole episode. I think this was a good one, and this was a fun report to write because, yeah, we're in the final week here, so that means, you know, past the second rest day, now they can dare to dream. Now they can think, maybe I too could make it to Paris. So with that, let's get into it. The riders begin to dream of Paris. Tour de France 2020, Stage 16, La Tour de Pin to Vallard-de-Lans, 164 kilometers. Kamna beats Carapaz in breakaway for stage honors. No real shakeup in GC standings. With the second rest day completed, the 107th Tour de France enters the final phase. Now the riders dare to dream. The thought creeps into their minds. Perhaps I shall complete this Tour de France. Yes, we come to the business end of the race, dear readers. We can feel it winding down. Bit by bit, one by one, contenders have been eliminated from contention in many of the classifications. Thibaut Pinot of Groupama FDJ, our musketeer Julien Alaphilippe of Deceuninck Quickstep were found out long ago, before the first rest day. But over the second week, we saw Romain Bardet of AG2R abandon the race entirely due to crash and concussion. Cofidis's Guillaume Martin, Socrates they call him, dropped out of his top 10 placing last week, while Nairo Quintana of Arkea Samsic only held on to 9th place himself after a bad day on Stage 15, which was overshadowed by another contender's even worse day. Of course, the biggest name that was crossed off the list of contenders on Stage 15 was the young Egan Bernal of Ineos Grenadiers, the defending champion of the race, whom we shall return to later because more must be said. Meanwhile, the green points jersey competition has been whittled down to 2 or 3 possible winners. Sam Bennett of Deceuninck Quickstep, Peter Sagan of Bora Hansgrohe, and possibly Matteo Trentin of Team CCC. The white jersey, we must assume, will not be relinquished by Tadej Pogačar of UAE, barring catastrophe. And Movistar are well in command of the all-important and sought-after teams classification. Yes, this is traditionally how the Tour is to work. It is a 3-week race for a reason. Put the contenders through the meat grinder and let the greatest among them clearly rise to the top. Henri de Grange, the father of the Tour de France, said his ideal tour would be so grueling only one man would make it to Paris. The Tour has never been that selective, but it has always been grueling. This Tour has been an odyssey, as the Tour always is. The riders have endured much. They have been soaked to the bone with rain. They cannot remember all of their crashes. They have consumed more calories than a grizzly bear preparing for hibernation. They had many days where every muscle in their body pleaded to stay in bed as they woke up each morning. They have pushed their physical and psychological limits and dug deeper than ever before, and many have no results to show for it. And now today, they wake up and believe they can see a light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, we need not keep it hushed up any longer. I dared even mention its name a few times on Saturday and Sunday in regard to our sprinters. The riders envision it in their minds, the Champs-Élysées, the final lap of honor in Paris, the promised land. Oh, to see that Arc de Triomphe will make all their suffering worth it. What an accomplishment it will be for every single one of them to arrive on cycling's most hallowed boulevard after such an ordeal. Yes, now they enter the final stretch, but they still have so very far to go. 3 proper mountain stages. The second 2 are particularly brutal. An unpredictable hilly rolling stage, a penultimate stage time trial, a race of truth it will be. All before they enjoy the procession and coronation on the Champs-Élysées. And all is still to play for. Sagan has not yet given up his quest for the 8th green jersey, and Matteo Trentin has come into better focus, taking maximum intermediate sprint points today, while Sagan and Bennett have scored none. Dear readers, we have not yet at all talked of the King of the Mountains competition and its polka dot jersey. But I tell you, the race is open, and soon there shall be headlines. Some riders, such as sprinter Caleb Ewan of Lotto Soudal, hope to survive the time cuts on these mountain stages that have been so hard, in order that he might win victory on the crown jewel of sprints, the aforementioned Champs-Élysées. Meanwhile, many teams still hunt stage honors. Bora, despite the riders' legs of iron, still have a goose egg on that scoreboard. And now it is open season for the Ineos Grenadiers, who are set off the leash with no leader to care for. And then there is the race we all care about most, for yellow. Many of us are confident we shall see our first Slovenian winner of the Tour de France, but who shall it be? Primož Roglič, the champion of Slovenia and captain of the mighty Jumbo-Visma team who have ascended to the top of the sport, or Tadej Pogačar, Roglič's little brother, who must not be underestimated and whose limits are still unknown. Yes, they are the alphas, but so many. Rigoberto Urán of EF, Superman Lopez of Astana, Adam Yates of Mitchelton Scott, Richie Porte of Trek Segafredo, Mikel Landa of Bahrain McLaren are still within or around 2 minutes back of the Slovenians. Just 1 or 2 brilliant efforts, and they could find themselves wearing yellow on the Champs-Élysées. With these thoughts in mind, the riders entered stage 16, a day for the climbers, but perhaps not decisive enough for the GC contenders. The fight for the breakaway was fierce in the opening kilometers. With the hard but not too hard enough climbs, today would be a perfect day for the peloton to ease up and let the breakaway gain 10 or even 20 minutes to fight for stage honors, while the GC men saved their powder for the next 2 pivotal stages. Yes, this is what happened. A breakaway of some 23 riders went up the road, developing a 10 to 12 minute lead over the peloton. Those talented Ineos Grenadiers had 3 strong riders in the move, but they were matched by those tactical masters, Team Sunweb, who got 3 in the break as well. Our musketeer Julian Alaphilippe made the group and was looking sprightly and motivated, bouncing around. Bora Hansgrohe had men in the ranks looking to finally break the stage win seal. And there were others as well, too many to name today, dear readers. Over the early climbs, veteran Pierre Roland of B&B Hotels Vital Concept made a splash, drawing even with Benoît Cosnefroy of AG2R overall for the King of the Mountains competition, as he was the first to crest 2 Category 2 climbs in a row that came in the middle of the stage. But the finale was fought out on the big brute of the day, a Category 1 climb called the Motif de Saint-Césaire Beau Duchet. It was here that Ineos's Richard Carapaz put in a blistering series of attacks. First, he detonated the breakaway with only Alaphilippe, Sebastian Reichenbach of Groupama FDJ, and Leonard Camera of Bora Hansgrohe able to stay in his wheel. With another attack, he dropped Reichenbach and our musketeer. Oh, Julian, surely now it is in your best interest to focus on Paris and the Champs-Élysées. Use the remaining kilometers as training for your later season objectives in Imola, where the rainbows shall be awarded, the Ardennes, and maybe even the cobbles of Flanders. Yes, alas, Alaphilippe was popped like a pastry from a toaster, but one was still on the wheel of Carapaz, and surely this rider was not thinking of Paris yet. Leonard Kamna, the agonizing runner-up in the sprint to Danny Martinez of EF, and the workhorse for Vercingetorix, Sagan, and Lyon, had not yet fired all the arrows from his quiver. As the summit of the climb drew near, Kamna fired his shot and came around Carapaz, and Richard Carapaz, the 2019 Giro d'Italia champion, Ecuador's greatest sportsman now part of the dominant Ineos Grenadiers, had no answer. Perhaps Carapaz was not as calloused over in these ferocious and cutthroat breakaway affairs where unbridled Herculean attacks are unleashed in bids for stage glory. He was grown too accustomed, perhaps, to the order and metronomic control at the front of the peloton. Kamna went over the top of the climb alone, but the last 20 kilometers was not a massive descent to the finish. It was rolling terrain at the same altitude and a leg-breaking final 2.2 kilometer Category 3 climb to finish the stage at Villard-de-Lans. A Tour breakaway expert by now, Kamna relished finally being away solo. He put 90 seconds into Carapaz and more into everyone else to finally take victory and give the Bora Hansgrohe sponsors a celebratory victory photograph. Well done, Leonard Kamna. Now you too, so accomplished, a stage victory in your first Tour, may start dreaming of Paris. Behind, the GC favorites rode the final Category 3 climb hard as Pogačar pushed the pace. But there was no difference in time. They all finished together. One was now absent from their ranks, the man with bib number 1 on his back, Egan Bernal. To append this piece, I want to highlight the strange sight of the day. Halfway through the stage, we saw Egan Bernal, the reigning Tour de France champion, for still a few days more, dropping back to the team car to grab water bottles for his teammates. It was a sight to behold, and it was a sight of a humble young man still doing his part for the team. There is a good chance this was the first race he has ever been a water carrier, for not just the Sky/Ineos team, but his previous teams as well, where he was always the top rider, always the star. His bid for a second yellow jersey is over this year, but his race goes on. Perhaps he will ride it out anonymously. Perhaps he will purposely lose more time to attain freedom to hop in a breakaway. Today he fell back into the Gruppetto, another place he has not often been seen. We still do not know the cause of his downfall and collapse on Sunday. It seems Ineos may not yet know either. He knew his back was affecting him, but that was not the full explanation of the empty feeling he had. He even admitted all the way back in Nice he knew it would be difficult to defend his title. He said he did not so much feel pressure wearing bib number 1, the honor accorded to the most recent Tour champion, but that he had a strong desire to respect the race. He said he gave this Tour everything he had. He did all he could. He fought full gas until the final. But others were stronger. He says he will try again, but he also reflected on his win last year, where he was the first Colombian to ever win the Tour de France. He is proud of that and knows it is something no one can ever take away from him, even if he never wins the Tour again. As he dropped through the cars to the Gruppetto out the back, he seemed in good spirits, and why shouldn't he be? He has fought bravely. He has respected and honored the great race. He will not wear yellow again in Paris this year, but that does not mean Egan cannot enjoy being a cyclist in the Gruppetto or a breakaway of the Tour de France. And he, like the rest of the peloton, can dream of finally reaching Paris and the Champs-Élysées. All right, so that was the stage there. I thought that was a fun one. One of the things I do, and I don't play it until after the second rest day, but every year I start playing the Champs-Élysées song. So if you just look up Joe Dassin, Champs-Élysées, it is, oh my gosh, I forgot. I think I was looking for highlights of Mark Cavendish on the Champs-Élysées on YouTube, and then I found this link a couple years ago, and oh my gosh, this is in there for top 3 catchiest songs of all time. It's so great. The Champs-Élysées, on the Champs-Élysées, you know. Oh, Champs-Élysées, do-do-do-do-do. Oh, Champs-Élysées. You know, all right, it's so awesome. You got to check it out. You got to get hooked. But anyways, I purposely don't start playing that one until after the second rest day, and then I start playing it, you know, the whole in the lead up to the Champs-Élysées, and then I probably play it until probably about the Vuelta starts. You know, I mean that's such a fun, catchy song. Why not? Anyways, I thought this one was fun, and yeah, past the second rest day is really a milestone. You know, the tour is still hard, but in a traditional tour, it's pretty good that it's just, you know, it's making it now. It's really. We're turning, we're facing probably north because we're probably south, and we're trying to get back to Paris now, actively going that way. You know, if not literally, psychologically, for sure. And yeah, this is good stage itself. My favorite part was actually writing about Egan Bernal and the Gruppetto, though it was ruined, and I wasn't gonna mention. I definitely did not mention this in like the writing itself. It was ruined because after today he pulled out, and I was like, oh, that's lame. Come on, he can't finish it off. But then I guess what we were hearing for the past couple months. I mean, his back was actually. It sounded like it was actually a really bad injury, and so I'm recording this 2 days after his Ventoux ride, the Chalet Renard ride, and the Tour de la Provence. Whichever one it is. Anyways, he looked good there. Definitely in good form, and he doesn't even need to be right now, so, or not yet, I guess. But, yeah, he looked good there, so maybe they got the back stuff figured out. I think they said they did, but, after the tour, after he pulled out of that stage, I don't think he raced for the rest of the year, even though it was a shortened season, so that's not saying too much. But anyways, yeah, looks like the back stuff might be figured out. That'd be good. It's cool to see him do his part. It's been announced already he's going to the Giro. I'll talk about that because after I'm going to do stage 17, stage 18, and then after that, I'm hopping straight into the Ineos Grenadiers preview. So get ready. Let's see. I got a review too. Here we go. Okay. Some impronounceable jabble of letters. Gasidjokski. I pronounced that wrong, but I don't know. If something tells me whoever has that name is either used to it or doesn't care. Anyways, 5 stars. Good. Very interesting how the host relates his personal experience and interest to the different facets of the sport itself. I don't know about personal experience. Oh, actually, I do. Like, I remember this moment. Yeah, that's kind of true. Okay, I do that. All right, thank you, long name. That was great. That was a great review. Touched my heart. Thanks. And it's 5 stars, especially. So thank you for that. Everybody can do that, and make it. I don't know, 2.5 degrees. More souped up than that, more sophisticated than that, and I'll give you a prize for being so witty. And yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. Cycling Odysseys on Twitter, cyclingodysseys.com for the blog, cyclingodysseys@gmail.com to send me, any emails, thoughts, questions, ideas about stuff. And, like if you want me to write about, I don't know, Odin. If you want me to weave Odin into an episode or something, just let me know or something. If you want to compare Ryder, it got nicknames. Send me nickname ideas. That'd be fun too. I don't know what these journalists are doing. I think they're dropping the ball of late in the past decade or so. Maybe the riders don't care anymore either. That's also highly problematic, and we must change their minds. We must, even though they have free will of their own. But in that regard, no. You need good nicknames with this sport. That's part of the awesomeness. Anyways, please subscribe to the show. Again, leave a 5-star review. That'd be awesome. Thanks for listening, everybody. Vive la Ciclismo.